Hello, welcome back to the Off-Grid family. First off, I'd like to apologise for my voice. I've got quite a bad cold at the moment, but you know, you still got to keep on keeping on. Today I'm going to make a router table, or attempt to. Now, normally I make my intro at the beginning and all of my videos are very linear. You know, I start, I do whatever, I do bits of speaking, bits of like whatever, and it's just a linear flow. I started editing it, and the optimism in my voice and the happiness and all that I felt on this project was cringeworthy, purely because of I know what's going to happen. But I don't want to give any spoilers. But anyway, basically I'm just going to make quite a simple, straightforward router table so I can do a few projects that I've got coming up. Let's get on. Okay, so you're going to need 4 of each of the pieces of wood, and the sizes are on screen now. These are just arbitrary sizes that I've done a bit of measuring up to make sure that it's going to be around the right size for the router, but they could be a little bit small, a little bit bigger. You know, I'm just randomly sort of choosing the sizes that best fit what wood I had at the time. This is an aluminium routing table attachment bit which I got rather than making anything like it. You will need a piece of wood as well, a flat sheet of wood, but I'll talk to you about that in a bit. And some screws and various tools. Right, I've drilled these ones out and I'm just going to put them together, and I'll show you what they're going to go together like. Okay, so this is the lower deck, and the actual router goes in here like this, facing upwards. Let me show you. So the router would go like that, and then there's going to be another level about here which will have the router table on it like that, and then there'll be a piece of wood that this will recess into. Right, I'm going to just knock these together very quickly just by plonking a couple of screws in each side into these pieces of wood. Right, there's those two. They are blinking heavy, but it was all the wood I had. Next, we're going to get the other bits, and we're going to connect them up somewhere like this, I think. Okay, so the upright supports are on, and I've leveled them up so that they are straight up, not wonky, even though the wood is. Obviously, everything in this project so far is salvaged, even the screws. The screws came out of an old project. The wood is from an old shed. Next, then I want to get this bit on, and then I can start actually getting the top layer ready. Right, okay, so that's that done like this. Now, this is completely level all the way across, corner to corner, and horizontal and vertical. So that's good. This bench is not, so it's a bit wobbly, but the actual table, well, this is. So next I want to cut the top to it and start getting it ready for putting in the aluminium piece, which will go across like this somehow. Let me show you what I'm thinking. Right, I've got this huge thing here, and I'm thinking, is it rounded on both sides? Yeah. I'm thinking if I, well, cut it to size, and then whop this right in the center, and then I can use the router to route out this area, the whole of this, and then cut a few bits and bobs out. So that'll be my next step, cutting this. Okay, so after cutting this out, I realised that this board is too thick. The actual plunge cut part of the dooba isn't big enough, so it won't plunge up through it enough, so I'm having to think of plan 2, B, X. So, plan whatever. I took apart an very old picture frame because it had been smashed, and it had this wood on it, and I can't believe this, right? Literally, I did that in the morning, and I was making this in the afternoon, and this, it's exactly the same height. There may be 1/10 of a millimetre. Right, so what I need to do then is get these measured, get them cut to the right size, and get them in, because what I also noticed was, if I plonk them like this, obviously I've only got 3 of them, which is a bit of a pain, but let me show you. Let's say I shove them like this, and like this, The offcuts I've got down here, not that you can see it properly, but will be enough to fill this gap here. It won't be the most pretty thing in the world, but God, it will work, you know. So I'm going to measure them up and cut them. Okay, so why am I not using the aluminium table anymore? I went looking online for one and decided to buy that one after researching it, finding out that it was compatible with my router, all that kind of thing. So when it arrived, I didn't bother checking anything. I just, yeah, it's fine, because this company only sells the one type, which is a universal for multiple routers, and I built it like a moron, and only to find out they don't sell the one that they're advertising online anymore because they couldn't get hold of them anymore. So rather than updating the listing at all or doing anything about it, they just sold it and hoped I wouldn't notice. And apparently I should just find a friend to give it to and not ask for a refund. Yeah, that's going to happen. So I'm going to have to come up with something else. So let's see what we can do. Okay, so that was a complete and utter waste of time. Let's take this back to a workable piece, and we'll go to my third plan. I am so glad that I decided to use nails to make my life easier. Thank you, Past James. Right, anyway, I found some of this. This is just clipped together, sort of like flooring. One of my neighbours was moving out and they had tons of this that they chucked away, and I've used it for loads of different jobs. It's probably bulletproof. If I could afford it, I'd send some off to Demolition Ranch to get them to check it. It's thick-ish, but not too thick, but it is solid as a rock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it straight along this edge. I'm going to take off this part of the router, the bottom. I'm going to draw around it and I'm going to set it up that way. But first off, I need to cut through this, and I remember it being so difficult to cut through. Right, eventually I want to cut this whole circle out, but I obviously don't want to do it yet, because if I'm pushing wood through, I don't want it to get stuck in the hole, so I need to make some covers to go over it to cover it for different size bits, but I can't do that at the moment. So all I'm going to do is just drill out a big enough hole for the project I need this for now, and then we'll deal with that at a later date. Right, and that's the bit I need to pop through the hole. As long as I've lined it up properly, that should be right. Now to screw it down onto the actual table. These are the screws that came with the router to screw the actual base of it on. I'm going to obviously need bigger ones because of the thickness of the wood, and I estimate that's going to be about the right size. Let me zoom you in a sec. Something like that. I'm going to just test and see if it's okay. With this design, when you want to change the actual bit, all you need to do is release it off its springs and it's happy days, and then you need to just push it back up when you want to get doing it. Right, now sadly this router does not have an automatic like hold and clip start, so I've used a zip tie and it's wired up to a remote control, so it's a bit safer. But I'm gonna put on my goggles and turn it on. Okay, there's a couple of things I'd like to do before I finish, which is get a place to wrap the cable for the router around so it's not all dangling down. I'm going to make a fence for it so that I've got somewhere to lay the wood against, but I don't think I'm going to do that in this video because I think that's just going to be a piece of wood and some clamps. I might wax the wood just to make it slide a bit better, but that's not going to be anything spectacular, so I don't think I'll do that. And then I want to paint it. I just want to make it look a little bit okay. You know, it's not going to look fantastic, obviously it's some reclaimed wood, but it'll do its job. But let's get on with doing the cable thingamajobs first. I got this old post out of the garden. I've got a few of these and this was one I wasn't using. And then I've got some offcuts from the laser, and what I'm thinking of doing is just chopping it about there. Super simple, so you know, you don't need a rocket science degree. All I'm doing is just something very simple, rough and ready. So I think I'm just going to cut this to the size I think I want and make 2 of them and stick it on. Okay, I'm thinking something like this, just here. Okay, now I would like to just give it a dot of colour. When I say colour, I'm going to paint it black, so actually not colour at all. So I'm going to have to take this off first and get painting. Okay, the router is out. Next I'm going to take the whole top off just to make life a lot easier when, you know, painting it and everything. Right, like the lazy blighter I am, I'm not even going to get a tray. I'm just going to do it like I do with everything and just plop it on like this. Right, let's time lapse this. Okay, so it's had about an hour and a half to dry, and it's quite hot the last few days, so it should be completely dry. So I'm going to put it back together and let's have a look at the final result. There you have it. Finished project, all made out of scrap, and it works, and that's the most important thing. It doesn't look the best, but it also doesn't look the worst, but it works. So it means I can get onto my next project, and I think that's pretty much what working in my workshop's like. Every single project you do builds onto the next project and helps with the next. When I first started out doing this, I wanted to build all of my tools, and I realised I'd be 143 before I'd even got enough tools to be able to build half the things I build now. So that fell out of sort of alignment, but it is nice to get back to building certain tools and certain bits to help with my tools. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next week. Bye for now.